I don't know how the Dallas Cowboys got into this position, and I'm gonna admit something to you guys. And I know I usually say this at the very beginning when I make Dallas Cowboys relevant news, but I'm a huge Dallas Cowboys fan. And I think it's important because you'll see my perspective on any big major Dallas Cowboys signing when I open up with that. Now guys, before I jump into this analysis, make sure you're following me on Twitch. I live stream on Twitch on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays at 9 p.m. Pacific time. The reason why it's so important is because if you come through, we usually discuss football and you guys could ask me questions, and it's really a good place to just vibe with my closest circle, and it's the best way you guys can interact with me. On top of that, please smash that like button for the YouTube algorithm. If you're a new subscriber and you're not sold on me as a content creator yet, it's fine, but just leaving a like really helps the channel grow and makes all of my hard work into this video absolutely worth it. And of course, check us out on TikTok. We post there consistently as well. Now that we got all that out of the way, break! Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? Your boy Microphone back again with yet another video. Now, there's a lot of drama leading up to the signing of Everson Griffen by the Dallas Cowboys, and we're going to eventually culminate with that. So I'm going to give you a little timeline of how it all went down. So originally, Everson Griffen was in talks with the Seattle Seahawks and the Minnesota Vikings. He was planning on potentially returning to the Minnesota Vikings once again. Now, a brief history of Everson Griffen, guys. He was the 4th round pick, the 100th overall pick by the Minnesota Vikings back in the 2010 NFL draft. He's currently 32 years old, and throughout his entire career, he's been able to notch 74.5 sacks through 147 games with the Minnesota Vikings. His star running mate was Danielle Hunter, but he's the guy that got the bag. Everson Griffen, not so much. He got cut earlier by the Minnesota Vikings in a cap-saving move. The Vikings were interested in bringing him back. It didn't end up happening. Now, the reason why Everson Griffen has been a free agent for this long, and once I make this point, it's going to kind of make more sense why the Dallas Cowboys signed him, and you'll understand why this is such a Cowboys-like signing, is the fact that Everson Griffen does have a history of personal issues. And when I mean personal issues, I mean actual personal issues. To give you an idea, back in 2018, when he was with the Minnesota Vikings, Everson Griffen was being evaluated and treated at a mental health facility after a pretty strange series of events where Everson Griffen was seen shouting and yelling randomly in an explosive, screaming manner at team facilities. And eventually, the Vikings told him, listen, you can't come into practice until you meet up with a mental health professional. There was also this instance where Everson Griffen threatened to shoot someone if he wasn't allowed into his room, and even an instance where Everson Griffen allegedly attempted to break into the home of his teammate at the time, Trey Waynes, and eventually found his way to a gas station where he got into the passenger seat of a stranger's pickup truck. The stranger would call Everson Griffen's wife and took Everson Griffen home. The police would meet Everson Griffen at his home, and from the report, Everson was outside yelling. The officer approached Everson, and Everson was making comments about 777 and then would go into Trey Waynes' house because God made him do it, and went on to say that there was a sign on the front door saying "Welcome Fall," so that's why he went there. So Griffen would eventually seek the psychiatric help. First of all, I'm hoping that Everson Griffen has since sought out the help that he needed because he's a very, very talented individual and such matters should not be taken lightly. But that is maybe perhaps one of the reasons why it's taken him so long to find a team. He would miss 5 games in 2018 because of these issues, but did rebound in 2019 with 8 sacks and would get his 4th Pro Bowl nod of his career. So it's important to note that Everson Griffen joins a bunch of Dallas Cowboys on a very talented yet volatile and hopefully formerly troubled defensive line. So he joins players like Aldon Smith and Randy Gregory. Both players have had their own off-the-field issues, but there's been times where the Cowboys have been able to get the most of a player with off-the-field issues, and hoping if this defensive line is able to fulfill their potential, you're potentially looking at a defensive line that features DeMarcus Lawrence, Gerald McCoy, Dontari Poe, Aldon Smith, and Everson Griffen, all of which have had Pro Bowl resumes at some point of their career. Now, it's important to note that Randy Gregory has still not been officially reinstated yet, but if he does, he was doing phenomenal for the Dallas Cowboys before he was suspended. What's pretty adorable about the story, though, is Everson Griffen's former defensive coordinator with Minnesota, George Edwards, is now an assistant with the Dallas Cowboys. Aldon Smith gets Jim Tomsula, a coach that coached him when he was with the San Francisco 49ers as his defensive line coach. So what does this mean for the Dallas Cowboys? Well, as a Cowboy fan, and this is why I always introduce myself as a Dallas Cowboy fan, it's important to note that until we see what the Mike McCarthy regime does, I can't dub any team an official Super Bowl contender. I can't dub a team whose coaching style I have yet to see, whose culture that I have yet to see. I can't dub them a Super Bowl threat. But I would tell you this, if we had Jason Garrett as a head coach, I would not think this changes anything. The Cowboys have historically had phenomenal teams that have not been able to live up to the hype. But I will give them this. This is by far one of the most complete Dallas Cowboy teams that I think I have ever seen. I think we have a phenomenal talent at each and every single position. And in the past, we've had phenomenal talent at maybe 75% of the positions, but this is the first year where I look at each and every position and I think, oh my God, we are fairly stacked. Linebackers, we have Jalen Smith, Sean Lee, and Leighton Vander Esch. The defensive line, I already talked about it. We got DeMarcus Lawrence, Aldon Smith, Randy Gregory, if reinstated, Gerald McCoy, Dontari Poe, and the newly acquired Everson Griffen. At quarterback, we have Dak Prescott, and I guess the jury's out on him. Some people are pro-Dak people, some people are anti-Dak people. The offensive line, I guess you could also say the jury's out on them because they're phenomenal, but Tyron Smith's going into his 10th season in the NFL, but regardless, Zach Martin has always been a key cog in that offensive line, and La'el Collins has been formidable for the most part. Our running back is without a doubt a top 3 running back in the league. We recently were able to lock up Amari Cooper, who has had a 1,000 plus yard receiving season in each of the years that he was with the Dallas Cowboys, in addition to Michael Gallup, and we spent a first round pick on a potential game-changing wide receiver by the name of CeeDee Lamb. All that matters at this point is whether the head coaching staff could truly execute. And that's a pretty big if. That's the one thing that's always held the Dallas Cowboys back. So I want to get your opinion in the comment section down below. What is going to be the Dallas Cowboys' final record? Do you think this is the year that they could finally make it to the Super Bowl? Or are you not buying it? Do you think Mike McCarthy's just going to be Jason Garrett 2.0? I'd like to hear what you have to say. Aside from that, if you enjoy the take, smash that like button, and if you made it to the end of the video, comment Mike Check 1212, because I'm your boy Microphone, and I'm dropping my mic until our next upload.